They found it in an unmarked envelope. No return address. No fingerprints. Just a dusty cassette labeled Lamb Number 6. Sheriff Corwin thought it was a prank. Teenagers trying to stir ghosts in a town that stopped believing in them until they played it. A girl's voice whispered through the static, breathless, trembling. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." Then silence, breathing, tense. Then this. "Forgive me, Father." I think he's still in the room. The tape ended with a low humming sound. A hymn, one they hadn't heard in decades. It was called "The Last Shepherd." What made it worse was the voice. It belonged to Grace Holloway, 17, missing since 1954. Last seen walking into St. Leora's chapel for late confession. The church claimed she never arrived because Father Micah said she never showed up. That was 5 years ago. I was 11 when Grace disappeared. They said she ran away, but I knew her. She wouldn't leave. Not like that. Not without saying goodbye. St. Leora's always felt off. Too quiet. Too still. The pews creaked, even when empty. The confessional door was always cracked open, like it was waiting for someone. Father Micah was kind, soft-spoken, but he never aged. Photos from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, always the same man, same hair, same skin, same faint, perfect smile. My mother called him blessed, but I started to think he was cursed. When I turned 17, I started digging. Missing girls, church bulletins, buried police reports. Every girl had vanished. After confession. 6 of them. Each name, scrawled in an old black ledger, hidden behind the altar, under one column, written in red ink. Lamb accepted. I played that tape 100 times. Grace's voice cracked, the way it did when she lied. But this wasn't a lie. This was terror. She'd realized something. Someone was in the booth with her. I took it to Sheriff Corwin. He called it a hoax. Too old. No chain of custody. But then I showed him the hymn. He froze, because Father Micah had hummed it once, at my mother's funeral. Low, deliberate. When I asked what it was, he smiled and said, "Only those marked by the Lamb can hear it clearly." That night I went back to the church, empty, cold. I sat inside the confessional, the wood warm beneath me. A single candle flickered behind the grate. Then, his voice, smooth, calm, like always. "Do you seek forgiveness, child?" I didn't blink. "No," I whispered. "I seek the truth." Silence. Then, "Truth doesn't save you," he said. "Only sacrifice does." I waited until Sunday. Everyone else was inside. Eyes fixed on Micah at the pulpit. I slipped behind the altar, where the velvet curtain hung. There was a door. Few knew it was there. Fewer ever opened it. The key was hidden, inside a hymn book, titled Lambs of Grace. The door opened, with a groan, and the smell hit me first. Damp, rot, and something copper. Blood. Stone stairs led down, into a crypt. The walls were lined with names, dates, initials, and in the center, a wooden chair, stained. I found her ribbon. Grace's, still tied, still red. Above the chair, a prayer, etched into bone. The shepherd gathers what the flock forgets. Then I turned, and he was there, cassock swaying, candle in hand, eyes calm. He spoke softly. 7 lambs, 7 sins, 7 steps to paradise. I ran. He didn't follow. But as I reached the stairs, he whispered, "You'll be the 8th." I leaked the tape. Every station, every paper, every forum that would listen. Some aired it, some called it art, but the town couldn't unhear it. St. Leora's closed its doors. The mayor sealed the crypt. Father Micah resigned. No charges, no trial, just gone. They said he left for a mission trip, but I know better. The confessional booth is still there, still warm, still lit. Every Friday, someone lights a candle, and if you press your ear to the wood, if you listen closely, you'll hear it, the creak of a seat, a girl's breath, and a hymn drifting through the grate. Only those marked by the Lamb can hear it clearly. They bricked up the basement, or said they did, but when I snuck in through the side door months later, flashlight shaking in my grip, I found the velvet curtain still there, still swaying, as if someone had just passed through. The door opened more easily this time, almost welcoming. The crypt was colder than I remembered. The chair was gone, so was the ribbon. But something had been added. A desk, a tall rotting bookshelf. On the table was a second ledger, newer, bound in faded leather, the pages stiff with time. Each name was written with obsessive care, each marked with one of two symbols, a sheep or an X. At the very bottom, my name. Next to it, a sheep. No date, no death, just the symbol, and the word, watched. I turned to leave, but heard it, a creak, footsteps above, then humming, that same cursed hymn, drifting down the stairwell like smoke through a vent. I froze. It wasn't Micah. It was a child's voice, singing, in perfect pitch. The stairs groaned as I crept back up. The chapel was empty, the stained glass dull in the moonlight, but the doors to the choir room were open. I hadn't been inside since I was a child. Back when Grace sang solos at midnight mass, the piano was untouched, but the sheet music on the stand. It was The Last Shepherd, only this time it had lyrics, handwritten, childlike, smudged in red. I followed the sound deeper in. In the far corner, beneath the choir robes, was a child's recorder, still warm. I pressed play. The tape clicked. Whispers. Girls praying. Crying. Then a familiar voice. Bless me, Father, for I've seen them. They never left. They're in the walls. The pews. They sing when he sleeps. He said if I join the choir, I won't have to die. Then laughter. Dozens of voices. All girls. All overlapping. All singing. And beneath it all, Micah's voice. We only keep what the flock forgets. The stairs groaned as I crept back up. The chapel was empty, the stained glass dull in the moonlight, but the doors to the choir room were open. I hadn't been inside since I was a child. Back when Grace sang solos at midnight mass, the piano was untouched, but the sheet music on the stand. It was The Last Shepherd, only this time it had lyrics, handwritten, childlike, smudged in red. I followed the sound deeper in. In the far corner, beneath the choir robes, was a child's recorder, still warm. I pressed play. The tape clicked. Whispers. Girls praying. Crying. Then a familiar voice. Bless me, Father, for I've seen them. They never left. They're in the walls. The pews. They sing when he sleeps. He said if I join the choir, I won't have to die. Then laughter. Dozens of voices. All girls. All overlapping. All singing. And beneath it all, Micah's voice. We only keep what the flock forgets. I couldn't sleep. Not after the recorder. Not after those voices. They were real. Not memories. Not ghosts. They spoke in present tense. Like they were still there. Like they never left. So I returned one last time, before they sealed the church for good. The chapel was cold. Dust coated the hymnals. Candles had burned low, or had never been replaced. But something sat at the front of the altar, a wooden bowl, split down the middle, like it had been carved, then cracked by heat. Inside, scraps of paper, names, folded neatly, some old, yellowing, some freshly torn. I recognized everyone: Grace, Lillian, June, me, all the lambs, and at the bottom, a note in perfect calligraphy: one must remain to keep the song alive. Then, footsteps, not behind me, above. The choir loft creaked. I looked up, and there he was, Father Micah, standing in the shadows, arms open like always, smiling. "Have you come to take their place?" he asked softly. "No," I whispered. "I came to end it." He tilted his head. "You already did." The fire started in the confessional. No one knew how. The town watched as the chapel burned slow, almost reverently, like it had been waiting to go. They never found a body, not Micah's, not mine, just ashes, and the bowl. But here's the part I never told anyone. I wasn't in the chapel when it burned. I left through the side door, the way I always did. I walked until the air smelled like pine instead of wax. But something followed me. The hymn never stopped. It hums in my ears. When I close my eyes, I see the ledger, and every night a new name appears. Girls I've never met, from towns I've never visited. Somehow, I became the new shepherd, and I don't know how to stop it. Because when they come to me, they don't scream. They smile, and they kneel, and they whisper, "We remember you. You stayed." And the flock never forgets the lamb that stayed.